Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Andover Baptist Church. Welcome to our live stream and the 10 minutes before the service kicks off and we hand over to the main hall.
It's an inventive name, wasn't it?
We need to put a lot of creative energy into that. So let's welcome Jamie. This is Jamie. Jamie's a great member of our team here. I'm Chris. I'm the senior minister at the church, and we're going to be your hosts for the 10 before. And you introduce yourself to everybody, Jamie.
I'm Jamie. I'm involved with a lot of tech stuff. I used to do this on a fairly regular basis, and then I probably said something naughty. And they didn't want me back. No, that was not true. Lots of other things came up, and there was lots of work to get the tech stream running. And
when we were live streaming only during COVID, Jamie was often on the green screen or in the studio or whatever. But then as soon as we got back and had to do both, we needed your technical expertise in other places. But now our team has grown, and it sort of freed me up a bit, and so I was sort of offered and. Not to directly replace Rob, but I said I'm more than happy to help out. It's great to have you on. And Jamie, you mentioned it already. You're a member of the tech team, more than a member of the tech team. Yeah. You do a huge amount of work on the tech stuff around here with one or two other amazing people.
I just like playing with the toys, really. I mean, that's all it is.
What does it take? So people are watching this now, and we're sitting here. What's going on right now behind the scenes on all the tech sort of stuff to make all this happen?
So at the moment, and I was going to play it down and tell them that Martin's job's really easy, but Martin's slaving away over there behind the camera, getting everything ready for the live stream, sort of just warming up now. Things are starting to happen. In the main hall, everyone's actually having breakfast at the moment. All the tech team and the band have gone for breakfast, but they're in their sort of service break.
Yes, because they've done the first service as well, haven't they? So we have two services. This one's live stream, the first one isn't. So the tech folks have all been doing that. So we give them a bit of a breakfast between the two. So so we're hoping they're going to reappear again in time.
We're really hoping. Otherwise, we're going to throw over, and then we know one there. They're doing that, but other than that, about now they'll be starting to think about making their way back down, just making sure that everything's ticking over, and the visuals person will be starting to think about putting up the countdown and then it's sort of into the service. And
so the visuals person is running everything we see on the big screen in the hall. Which is also when I'm speaking, there's slides coming up on the telly. So and the song words coming up. That's what they're doing. And Martin is doing all the cameras and switching between all the camera views. So actually, Martin has almost total control. Really.
Basically, if he gets bored of the sermon, he can sort of cut back in here, and then it's a very having done that job. Sometimes it's a very tempting thing to do.
I tell you what, I am so thankful, and I know the church is so thankful to have you guys, and many others I know as well, who do an amazing job, because without all of you doing all of this, I mean, we wouldn't be able to live stream, people wouldn't be able to watch, and we would have no sound, the band wouldn't sound good, all of that sort of stuff, so it's amazing. So
and it's a great team to be a part of as well. We normally have a good joke, and we know things go wrong. Everyone knows things go wrong, and we sort of poke fun at each other when we mess up, and then we have a good laugh about it at the end of the day. So.
Good. Well, look, we're streaming the service today, which is great. We should probably tell people what has coming up in our service today. So what's going to be going on today?
It's a great service. We're continuing our Be Rich series. And Chris is going to be telling us how we can be rich in our faith, not financially, just to keep getting that the right way around. We'll keep saying it enough. And we've got some great worship, and it's going to be another good service.
Yeah. Excellent. Oh well, we're really looking forward to it. Yes. So Alex is leading our band today. We're hosting in the studio. We'll be back after the service as well to a bit more of that. Wendine is hosting the service in the hall. And I'm going to be doing this talk in the second part of our Be Rich series, so I'm really looking forward to that. So it's really cool. So we should explain a little bit about what Be Rich is, because you've kind of alluded to it already. So people can see that heading, I think, sometimes like Be Rich, and they think, oh, we're going to go to Andover Baptist Church this morning, they're going to tell us how to get loads of money. It's not about money. It's about being rich in generosity to others. And we're talking over these 3 weeks. We started last week. We're talking about how we can be rich in our giving, in our serving and in our love. So today I'm going to be talking about how we can be rich with our serving. So that's going to be, I hope, helpful to people today, how we can serve others and bless others, which is going to be really cool. So we're looking forward to that. Yeah. So, and I also wanted to say, because I've been away this week, but we had our Be Rich drive-through as part of this whole thing. Not yesterday, but the Saturday before.
It was
were you here for Be Rich drive-through?
I wasn't here, but my family dropped stuff off.
Okay.
But it was a bit close to the time to talk about it and sort of discuss what we'd actually got.
Yes.
It was only a day away, wasn't it, last week?
So people were so generous. So we want to say a huge thank you to everybody for being generous through our Be Rich drive-through. So the idea was people could come and either walk or drive through our church car park and drop off food for the local food bank, clothes for people who desperately need clothes, stuff for a thing we do called Embrace, which is helping women who've had to leave home in a hurry and who are in a shelter here in Andover. So all sorts of things we did, and we just want to say, if you were part of the Be Rich drive-through, thank you. You were so generous, and people came in this week. We're going to hear about this in the service, to pick up all the clothes that they needed and all that kind of stuff. So it was brilliant. So thank you for your amazing generosity.
Yeah.
So it was really cool.
Yeah, no, it was really good, and lots of photos of it.
Yes,
so you said you've been away, Chris, did you say? So what's that been all about?
Yes, so I've been in America for the last
That's a long way to go for a game of golf.
There was a game of golf.
Oh, right.
That wasn't the reason I went. You stitched me right up. I went to America. We flew out. We were there for about 8 or 9 days. We flew out the Friday before, got back in yesterday. So we are, you know this, we are part of a network in the UK and Ireland called the Further Faster
Not
Network.
us.
Not you and I, the church. The church is part of a network called the Further Faster Network, which we helped establish. So we were one of 5 founding churches. And we do that in partnership with an amazing church called North Point Community Church in Atlanta. They help us and support us. And they were hosting a gathering for leaders, church leaders, this last week. And there were church leaders from all over the world, because there's a network here, but there's also a network in Australasia, so some folks from Australia and New Zealand were there, and then there's also a network in Latin America, in Brazil, where else are they? Mexico, all throughout Latin America. So we all went, so there were about 130 church leaders from all over the world gathered together for the last week or so, and we did some conference stuff and some meetings, and there was a game of golf and all of that kind of stuff. So it's just
a tough life.
It's been very tough. So it's been a great week actually, and it's been amazing to be inspired by seeing what's going on around the world. We're part of this sort of bigger thing, but also the conferencey bit, which was in the middle few days, was great too. We had some great speakers come and share with us, and a lot of the theme was about how we can be healthy in our leadership through caring for the soul and making sure we're connecting well with God, because it's much better to lead out of that sort of thing. So really spoke powerfully to us. So yeah, it's been a great time. Lots of laughs, lots of good relationships built.
I saw some photos online as well. Did you put them on the group, the Facebook group?
I put them on my Facebook, but I don't know whether. So if people follow me on Facebook, they'll find, or Instagram, because I'm down with the kids. So Facebook or Instagram, you can find me. But I can't remember. I will put some. I keep meaning to do it. I will put like a summary thing on the ABC Facebook group. If people want to do that too. So so that was my week.
Brilliant.
So I'm a little bit bleary-eyed because I only got in at lunchtime yesterday, overnight flight, and
try not to nod off.
Trying to keep.
Chris having a little lie down between the services.
Keep going through the jet lag. So and that was my week. What about you? Did you have a decent week?
Yeah, it was a decent week. It was pretty busy, and some long hours work this week just because we're delivering a product. But no, it's been really busy, but good, and found some time to sort of relax a little bit.
And are you allowed to say on the live stream?
I can
what you do for a living?
I develop simulator and training equipment for railway work people. So so we were delivering one of our simulators this week. So it was pretty full on. And it stopped working about half an hour.
Oh no!
So anyway, but it was my fault. I just uncommented a line of code and put it back in. It was all fine.
Okay, so the railways are all okay again.
It's not actually working. It's simulator. It's all just for training, so nobody needs to worry about that. So
that's fine. So funny. That's so funny. Oh, that's cool. Oh well, I'm glad you've had a good week.
Yeah. No.
And we're
running out of time.
Very close to handing
We could talk
over
for
back
hours.
into the main hall. Just before we go, we want to remind you, if you're not yet a subscriber to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. We've got nearly 1,000 subscribers now, which is so exciting. If your subscribe button is red, it means you're not yet subscribed. Hit it, and you can get notified about things we're doing. If it's grey, don't hit it, because that means you're already subscribed.
Just a bit quick hello to Jenny as well. Jenny and
okay.
Andy and Angus and Vida. And
Diane, I can see.
yeah,
Deborah. Oh, well, it's good.
They're saying about how Jesus, but we'll ignore that. You got to read like that. Read up the way. Right. I think we're going over. Here we go. Bye.
Now, good morning, everyone online. My name is Wendy, and I am a member and one of the hosts here at ABC. A warm welcome to anyone visiting or watching for the first time. If you're here for the first time, please be sure to pick up a welcome pack, which is just out in the lobby. And if you are watching online, do let us know with your details, and we'll get one sent out to you in the post. It has details about what we are and what we do as a church, and there's a little gift inside too, so be sure to get one. This is the second week of our Be Rich series, which is all about generosity, serving, and giving. Our senior minister, Chris Porter, is going to be giving a talk on the topic of serving, and then we'll have great worship from our band. Alex is leading the band as well. But before we get into all of that good stuff, let's see what's happening this week at ABC.
Morning. My name is Hannah, and I'm doing this week at ABC slot. So we've got a couple of things coming up over the next few weeks. I'm going to share those with you now. So the first thing we have is our vision night. I'm going to shuffle this way so you can see, which is happening this Thursday, the 27th of October. It's both online and on site at 8 p.m. We are aware it is a half term, but we're talking about some really important stuff, so it'd be really great to have as many people there as possible. So if you want to be online for that, you can sign up on Church Suite or via the website. Lots of options. If you're having any problems, get in contact with the office. The next thing I have for us is the game night for the 18 to 35s. That is happening on the 3rd of November. At 7:30. You can sign up for that one on Church Street as well. That's really great. Really excited for that one. It's going to be amazing. The next thing I have, there's a lot coming up. We have the kids and youth events coming up. So we have our paddle. I'm going to go the right way. That way, yes. So we've got our paddle coming up on the 29th of October. You can sign up for that on the Church Suite. Church Suite's going to come up a lot today. Everything's sign up on Church Suite. So that is for years 7 to 11. That's going to be really great fun. Definitely get involved. And then the next thing we have is our s'mores and campfire. So this is a slightly wider age range. We've got 2 sessions going. You can see years 3 to 6 at 5:30, and then years 7 to 11 at 7. That's going to be great fun. Some food. Chaos, it'll be amazing. Definitely sign up for that if you are in those age ranges. The next thing I have is our Tier Fund Big Quiz. Now I'm gonna squat in the corner here so you can see. So that is on the 19th of November. It's going to be really great. It's a big group thing, so everyone up and down the country, lots of people will be involved. So you can sign up, book a table, or just turn up, bring snacks, drinks. There will be a link coming out soon. It's a great way to donate some money to an amazing cause, which is absolutely wonderful. The next thing I have is to talk about some things that have happened this week. So we had our clothing collection from our Be Rich drive-through. We had our wonderful World Mission team come in to sort out clothes, and lots of people came to pick things up. It was so great to have everyone in the building, so great to see so many people coming to pick up clothes. All of your donations have been greatly received, and we're really grateful that we've had such wonderful people coming in to help out. The other thing that's come from our drive-through is our Embrace bag pack. So we pack bags for ladies in the crisis centre in Andover. These are kind of little welcome packs for them that are left for them when they arrive, full of essentials and some other treats in there, which is really wonderful that we are able to do that as a church and as a group. And those are where some of your donations have gone to. So that was from our drive-through. If you were here last week, you'll probably have seen our drive-through video. We're going to show you again because it was just so wonderful that Saturday that everyone came. And if you haven't seen it, you need to see it. If you have seen it, too bad you're going to see it again. And it's a really great video. We should really be grateful to all of the people who volunteered and helped out. It was absolutely amazing, which is why we're going to show you that video again. So that is all from me. After this video, we're going to hand over to the band in the main hall. And here is that video for you now.
Awesome. Well, after that amazing video, why not let's stand together, let's sing and worship our God. So whether you're joining us here on site or you're online at home, why not stand up? Let's sing out loud and proud today.
Nothing can separate, even if I ran away, and your love never fails. I know I still make mistakes, but you have new mercies for me every day, and your love never fails. You stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that you love me. Your love never fails. The wind's strong, the water's deep. I'm not alone here in these open seas, 'cause your love never fails. The chasm is far too wide. I never thought I'd reach the other side, but your love never fails. You stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that you love me. Your love never fails. You make all things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. You stay Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy, 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 yeah. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place. That you would bear my cross. You will lay down your life. That I will be set free. Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me.
Please do take your seats. And if you're in our summit group, our youth group, I think that's years 7 to 11, it's time for you guys to head out now through the back doors for your sessions today. Thank you.
Check it out. I'm gonna light it up. Yeah, I'm gonna light it up. Check it out. I'm gonna light it up. Yeah, I'm gonna light it up. Just check it out. Let me show you what it's all about. Check it out.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's so great to see you. My name's Chris. I'm the senior minister here at Andover Baptist Church. Huge welcome to you. If we've not met before, it's great to see you. If you're online with us today, it's great to see you too. I can see some of you joining in on the chat right in front of me here, so it's great to have you guys on with us as well. Just before I get into the next part of our Be Rich series, there are a couple of things I want to say. First of all, I want to say a big hello to Jim Harries. Jim is with us this morning. Jim is a member of our church, and Jim has been in Kenya, serving God in Kenya for over 30 years. So, Jim, it's great to have you back with us today. And also, that's some great news to share with you. I've got some sad news that I need to share with you as well this morning. Many of you will remember and have known Norman Cox. And Norman has been a part of our church community for years and years and years, over 40 years. And Norman passed away yesterday and went to be with Jesus in heaven. So that's really sad news that we heard yesterday. Norman had been suffering and struggling a little bit with ill health over the last few weeks. And so in some respects for Norman, it's a relief that he gets to go and be with Jesus in heaven. But for those of us who've known Norman for many, many years, I know it'll be a big loss to us and to our church family as well. So I thought I'd just pray. I thought I'd pray. I mean, this is what it means to follow Jesus, doesn't it? To be in relationship with Jesus, all that life throws at us, the great highs and joys of being reunited with people again, and the lows of losing someone. But in the midst of all of that, we believe that God is at work in the highs and lows of life. So let's just commit that to him. Lord God, we thank you for the joy of having Jim back with us today, and for all that he does to serve you overseas. And we also thank you too today for the life of Norman, who gave himself so faithfully in service to so many others and to this church community as well. Thank you for his faithfulness to us as a church family. And we thank you that he is now with Jesus, his Savior, in heaven and free from the pain and struggles of ill health. But Lord, we also recognize in the sadness that there are lots of people here in our church community who will be sad today, and his family as well. And we just lift them before you and pray peace and comfort for them in Jesus' name. Amen. You know, I've been away this last week, and I got back yesterday, and I got this news about Norman yesterday afternoon, and I prepared my talk before I went away. And there's always that moment I think I'm going to have to tell the church this sad news tomorrow. How do I go from that into a talk, but actually the talk today is about serving. It's part of this Be Rich series we started last week, which I'll explain about in just a minute. But actually, do you know what? As I thought about it, I thought, this is perfect, because Norman was a servant. He served this church community really faithfully. He served in our local community in lots of different ways and served other people as well. So it's just really apt that we're talking about this today, and to go from that sad news into the talk today. It's an easy transition, actually, because we're talking about somebody who modeled this for us. But when we're talking about Be Rich, that series title can have some slightly odd connotations, because people think, well, I'm going to show up at Andover Baptist Church and they're going to tell me how to get loads of money. That must be what that means. But that's not what we mean by be rich at all. We're not talking about financial wealth or material wealth here. We're talking about a different kind of wealth. The wealth that comes from great friendships, great relationships, for investing ourselves in the life of others. It's the wealth that comes from being generous. And one of Jesus' first followers was a guy called Paul, and he wrote letters to churches and started churches, all that kind of stuff. And to one of them, he said, and to one of the leaders of that church, he said, be rich in generosity and good deeds. And that's the kind of thing that we're linking into throughout this series. And alongside it, we've got loads of practical ways we're trying to be rich in generosity. And you've seen some of them earlier with the Be Rich drive-through that took place a couple of Saturdays ago. And we're talking about being rich in our giving and in our serving and in our love. And next week I'll be talking about love. Today, it's about serving. I've been in America this last week, and I used to live there many years ago. We lived in the States for a year or so, and it reminded me, being back there this week, I love American sport. I love all sport, actually, but I really love American sport as well. I love baseball, and it's the baseball end of season. Baseball playoffs are going on right now in America, so everybody's really excited about that. The NFL football, American football season is in full flow. I love American football. And a couple of my favorite movies of all time are based around American football. There's one called Jerry Maguire. Has anybody ever seen Jerry Maguire? Cuba Gooding Jr. won an Oscar. Show Me the Money. Does that resonate with anybody? You Had Me at Hello. You Complete Me. No, you've got to watch Jerry Maguire. Honestly, and it's one of the best romantic movies of all time. Renée Zellweger, Tom Cruise. If you haven't seen it, you've got to see that film. But that's not the one I'm going to talk about today. The one that I want to talk about, the American football movie I love, another one I love, is called The Blind Side. Anybody seen The Blind Side? Okay, just one or two. I'm going to have to explain this clearly. So in that movie, Sandra Bullock won an Oscar for that movie, actually, for her portrayal of a lady called Leanne Toohey. And Leanne Toohey and her husband Sean came across a young man who was at school with their son. His name was Michael Orr. And he was a really big guy, Michael Orr, but he was desperately poor. He came from a really troubled and difficult background, desperately poor. And they started to get to know him because they would see him getting on and off the school bus with their son. And no matter what the weather, he was always dressed in shorts and a t-shirt, because it was obvious that he was poor, that his family had no money to spend on clothes. And then their son came back from school and said that Michael had no money for lunch, had no lunch at school, had no money to buy lunch. So they started to care for Michael. They started to give money so that he could have lunch. They started to get him some clothes. And eventually, it led to them adopting him as a son. And he lived with them and so on. But he was a big guy, and he was great at American football. And he went on to go to university. They helped him with his studies. He went on to go to university and then to play American football professionally for the Baltimore Ravens. It's a great story. It's a great film if you haven't seen it. And it's a story all about love and care for others, a true story, all about loving and caring and serving other people. And it's also the story of a mum. And that's one of the reasons I love it too, because it's the story of a mum. And my mum was one of my spiritual heroes. And my mum just loves serving people. And if you've been around the church before, you know I can't help from time to time talking about my mum. So I'm going to talk about her again today. My mum had plenty of struggles in her life, including a battle with cancer, which she lost when I was 21 years of age. She had plenty of doubts about God through that whole experience, as you might imagine. She was not a saint, my mum, but she did serve other people amazingly well. She had lots of doubts about God sometimes, particularly when she was ill. Where is God in the midst of all of this? But she did cling on to her faith, and she loved people. She was a fantastic role model for how to unconditionally love and serve other people. And that was an outworking of her faith in Jesus, just quietly behind the scenes. And here's the thing. When my mum was at her lowest moment, struggling with her illness, she received an outpouring of love and care, the like of which I've never seen. Cakes, visitors, friends, flowers, cards, love. We had a freezer, and I'm not exaggerating this, we had a freezer full of cakes. We couldn't eat them fast enough as people were bringing them round. And when she died, we got cards and letters from people we had never met, saying things that she had done for them and how she touched and blessed their lives. What an amazing woman she was, and the things that she had done for them. They told us all these stories. And her church family, our church family, were amazing. And they came around with meals and all sorts of stuff. And we had so many flowers that we ran out of places to put them in the house. We had to put them outside. And I'm allergic to like pollen and stuff like that. So not only was I crying because I just lost someone that I love, I was crying because we had all these, I was about to say wretched flowers in the house, but that's a horrible thing to say, wasn't it? Lovely flowers in the house that all these lovely people had given to us. And I remember so vividly at the time reading through all these cards and letters and seeing this outpouring of love, thinking to myself, that's what I want. That's how I'd like to be remembered. That the things they're saying about her, maybe they'll say about me one day. And what my mum taught me through all those years of serving was that actually, as well as our serving blessing other people and helping other people, it also changes us. And it also helps us. You know, I've seen this so many times over the years now as I've been leading churches. If you want to ensure in your moments of deepest need that you're supported by and surrounded by people who will love and care for you, if you want to be respected and admired by others, if you want to build a legacy that lasts after you're gone, if you want to grow spiritually fitter and more mature in your following of Jesus, if you're a Jesus follower, then serving is a key to that. And as I'm going to explain, our motivation for serving is not to be what we can get out of it, but actually it is a byproduct of our serving. So if you want those kinds of things, if you're sitting here this morning either online or in the room and you're thinking to yourself, I'd like to get spiritually fitter. I'd like to become more like Jesus. I'd like to ensure that people are there for me in my moments of darkest need. I'd like to be respected and admired. I'd like to be looked up to. I'd like to build a legacy that will last long after I'm gone. Then what we're talking about today is right on point for you. It's absolutely key to all of those things. Then what we're going to talk about today will absolutely feed in to that desire that you have for those kinds of things. And actually, whether you're a Christian or not, it does all of those things. And if you're not yet a Christian, if you're exploring faith, I've seen so many people in your situation over the years become part of a church community, get involved in a church community, even if they're not sure they believe in God or want to be a follower of Jesus. They get involved because they want to be a part of a community and they want to explore faith. Serving is a great thing to do because actually in their serving, it's where they find themselves starting to ask spiritual questions, to get spiritually fit, to start encountering what it really means to know God. So if you're a Christian or not, this is all relevant for us this morning. But I am going to talk in parts of this talk today about two Christians and say, actually, look, if you're not a Christian, I mean, you're under no obligation here. But if you are a Christian, there are some things we're supposed to be doing. There are some obligations, some obedient stuff to be doing here. And to help me in all of this, I'd mentioned Paul earlier, this guy who was a follower of Jesus some 2,000 years ago, started church and so on. I want to go to one of his letters that he wrote to one of the churches that he had founded, a church in a place called Philippi. And just a little bit of background before I dig into what he has to say, which will help us in our attitude and our motivation for serving. Just a little bit of background. There were some quarrels and some fights going on in the church of Philippi. People were seeking to pursue their own needs and their own agendas rather than the mission and purpose of the church and of Jesus. And so Paul's writing to them and saying, look, come on, stop all this quarreling, start uniting, get going on what you're actually supposed to be focusing on. And he's said all of this to them. He's talked about the attitudes that they need to adopt and what will bring around change and what will unite them together. And in the bit immediately before the bit we're going to look at today, he's been saying, come on, remember who you're following. Remember what Jesus did for you. And just use that to kind of prod you a bit into where the direction you're actually supposed to be going in. And in the light of that, he then says this, and we're going to look at Philippians chapter 2 from the New Testament part of the Bible. And it was important to explain that background because we have a therefore. Okay, and whenever you see a therefore in the Bible, you've got to ask yourself, what is the therefore? And the therefore in this situation is there to tie us back to what he's just been saying. Look, come on, remember who Jesus is. Remember what Jesus has done. Remember what you're supposed to be about. And therefore, if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if you kind of got any inspiration from all this stuff that Jesus has done, if you've got any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from his love, if any common sharing in the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and of one mind. If you know Jesus, if you're following Jesus, if you are thinking about the compassion and the love that Jesus has for you and all the things that Jesus has done for you, then do some stuff. If you'd say you're a follower of Jesus, if you take comfort from his love for you, if you recognize what he's done from you, if you've taken encouragement from being united with Jesus, then be like-minded. Which is a kind of way of saying unite around a common mission and a purpose. Have the same love that Jesus had for you and that Jesus demonstrated for other people. Have the same compassion. Do you see, I think this is a genius thing that Paul is doing here. He's saying, look, you've got some quarrels and agendas that you're pursuing and some stuff going on between you. The way to resolve all of that is to unite around who it is you're following and what he's asked you to do. And he has asked you to unite around a common mission and a purpose, which is to express the same love that Jesus expressed to you, to everybody else. Unite around this mission and purpose. And you probably know this too. If you're involved in, if you're involved in a sports team, or you're involved in a business, or whatever it is, you're usually involved with a whole disparate group of people who come from all sorts of different backgrounds and ways of life, who do all kinds of different things, and who you may not agree with, you may not line up with politically, you may not agree with their opinions on whatever it is. But if you've got a common mission and purpose, if you're trying to defeat the opposition sports team, if you're trying to make profit for the business, if you're trying to launch a new product, whatever it is, then you can put all those things aside because you're of one heart and mind about what it is that you're trying to do. And Paul says it's the same here. You've got a common mission and purpose, which is to love God, love Jesus, and help other people experience that too. So come on, be like-minded, be of one heart and mind, show compassion, be one in spirit, one in mind, be together. And then Paul goes on to say, look, and this is how your togetherness, this is how this mission should manifest itself in your attitudes. And this is so important. Look at this, verses 3 and 4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. So there's two don'ts and then a few do's that Paul says when it comes to this. Don't act out of selfish ambition. Don't act out of vain conceit. Instead, be humble and value others above yourself. Don't look to your own interests. Instead, look to the interests of others. Albert Einstein once said, a person first starts to live when they can live outside themselves. Do you see, when they start to think about other people, they start to look to the interests of others. And this is so true, isn't it? Don't we actually really start to live when we start to think about people other than ourselves? Think about this in this way, if you're a bit skeptical about that, think about this in this way. Think for a moment about the people you love relating to, the people you love spending time with. Look and think about the people who have lots of friendships. Look at the people who are at the center of a community like a church. I promise you, they are the people who are not self-centered, who are not selfish or self-serving. They're the people who give of themselves to others. They're the people who recognize that the entire world, with one minor exception, is composed of other people. You get that? The entire world, with the exception of one person, you, is composed of others. So how much of a waste of time is it, thinking about how to put this carefully and tactfully, how much of a waste of a time in it when the whole world is full of everybody else, that we would spend all our time thinking about one person, me? It's not great, is it? Those people who are surrounded by other people, who people want to relate to and be with and all that kind of stuff, they're the people who are interested in other people, in serving other people. And you know, sometimes, and you may be thinking this right now, you may be thinking, I've tried, Chris. I've tried serving other people, I've tried, and you know, I end up getting hurt. Because I do stuff for other people and then they say something stupid and it hurts me and it's painful, and I'm just wondering whether I should keep going because it's just too painful or too hurtful. Or we get disappointed. We serve other people and then we get disappointed. I just want to say, look, some of those, that happens, right? We've experienced that. All of us have experienced that. But that shouldn't stop us from serving other people. One or two bad situations shouldn't stop us going on in the future. You know, in my job, we try to help all kinds of people. We try to help people as much as we possibly can, sometimes at personal cost, and sometimes even at personal risk. Many years ago now, and I want to say this very clearly, it was many years ago now, not while I was at this church. Many years ago, as part of my job, I was asked by somebody who had been a part of our church, a lovely person, but loads and loads of needs, just all sorts of stuff going on in life all the time. It's very chaotic. And they'd been a part of our church, and they started to sort of move away to the fringe, and we were trying to draw them back, but it wasn't really working, and we weren't sure that they were still very keen to be part of our church. But they came to me one day, and they'd done something really stupid, and they admitted they'd done something really stupid, and they'd been caught, and they would end up having to go to court. And they admitted their guilt, so it was a sentencing thing that was going to happen at court, and it was right on that cusp between would they go to prison or would they be able to do community service or what was going to happen there. And they asked me, or their lawyer asked me actually, to go to court and be a character witness. And I said, well, I can't say anything that's untrue, but I can certainly say we've never seen this person do anything like this in our experience, and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, I went to court, and it cost a lot of time, because you have to have all the meetings beforehand, and then you go, and then they can't see you on the day that you've gone, because other cases have run over, so you have to go back again. So it just took loads of time and loads of work. And anyway, I got up, and I did my thing, and I said my piece, and thank God the person, and again, they'd admitted all of this, they didn't go to prison, but they had to do lots of community service, and we supported them through all, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, did all of that. Never saw them again. And we tried to draw them back into church and all that, and it just didn't. And that was really disappointing. And it hurt. And of course, that wasn't the reason why we were doing it. I didn't do it because I wanted them to come to my church. That's not why we did it. But it was disappointing and hurtful. And sometimes those things can create, our hearts can become stony when those sorts of things happen. We say, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to get hurt. I'm not going to waste my time again. I'm going to get hurt like that again. But actually, and this is something I realized, I ad-libbed on this a bit in our first service this morning, so I'm going to try and do it again. I think increasingly, as I get older and as I spend longer in church leadership and all that kind of stuff, I sense God saying to me more and more, your job is not to worry about the outcome. Your job is just to do the right thing, to do the caring thing, to do the compassionate thing, to serve other people. I'll worry about the outcome, and that may be good, it may be bad, it may be painful, whatever. Your job is not to worry about the outcome. Your job is to do what I'm asking you to do. And I think that's really, really important in all sorts of aspects of life, that actually being obedient to God, being obedient to Jesus, is about being obedient. It's not about, well, I really hope this is going to turn out great. That's not the motivation. Our job is to do what God is asking us to do. Right, a little bit of an aside. Let's go back then to the text here, valuing others above ourselves. But then look what Paul goes on to say. And again, this is really aimed at Christians, but I hope helpful for everybody. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. See, here, Paul is saying if you're a follower of Jesus, this is your motivation for serving. And by the way, if you're not a follower of Jesus, I want you to know this is the Jesus that we follow. If you want to know what it means to be a Christian, it's about following this guy. This guy who had equality with God, who was totally comfortable, who was there with God from the very beginning of everything, and it must have been really nice, was willing to give all of that up to come and walk on our messed up earth, planet, amongst us messed up people, and give himself as a servant and give up his life. This is what we believe. This is what Christians believe. This is the one who we follow, who we are absolutely convinced is worthy of following. And if you're not a Jesus follower, he's worthy of following for you too, because he will change your life because he's given everything for you. But if you are a Jesus follower, this is your motivation. Say, this is the one whom I'm following, and I ought to follow in his footsteps. I ought to follow his example. These are the servant-hearted attitudes that I need to demonstrate in my life. This is the one who is with God and who gave everything, and who served and willingly sacrificed everything. Took on the nature of a servant, made himself nothing, humbled himself to live and walk amongst us. And in order to serve others, he took up his cross, he dragged it to a hill, and then he let people nail him to it. He gave up his life. Now, from all of this, I think we learn some really, really important things about serving. First of all, it should be sacrificial. It should cost us something. It should cost us our time, our energy, maybe our reputation. It should cost us something. That's truly when it makes a difference. It's truly when it changes us, because it's cost us something. It's cost us something to be obedient and to give of ourselves to others. Secondly, it should flow out of a response to what God has done for us. If you're a Christian, your serving should flow out of a response from what God has done for you, not out of duty or obligation, not even because it does all those amazing things I talked about at the beginning, like helping us and helping us to grow spiritually. That shouldn't be our motivation. That's a lovely byproduct. Our motivation should be because we are responding to what God has done for us. And if you're a Christian, you should be serving because Jesus has modeled for you what it looks like to serve other people. And you should be saying, well, I want to do that too because I love people. And not just people in the church, not just Christians. If we love people, we should long for those who don't know God, who haven't had a relationship with God, to discover God as we have done. We should be prepared to sacrifice our time, our energy, our money, the things we like, for the sake of the people who we're serving and the people who don't know God and his love for them. And the possibilities when we serve together are boundless. And when we serve together in a church community, we can do so much more than we can do on our own. And I think the Be Rich drive-thru is such a great example of that. We'd never have done that individually, but coming together, we're able to do something extraordinary. So why do we serve? Well, we serve because it helps us to know God. We serve because God first served us and gave his son. We serve because it changes things. And we serve because it changes us. Serving changes things in our communities and in our world. But it also changes us. And again, that's not our motivation. We shouldn't be doing it out of a selfish motivation. But a happy byproduct is that it changes us, because serving makes us more like Jesus, who was a servant first and foremost. Serving helps us get spiritually fit. Sometimes people want to say to me, Chris, how do I grow spiritually fitter? Or sometimes they put it like this, how do I become more mature in my discipleship? They like to use big Christian words, which simply means how do I kind of grow in my following of Jesus? And there are all sorts of things that we can do, but serving is a great way to do that, to get spiritually fitter, to become more like the greatest servant of them all. It helps us serving to stand up against the selfishness and the me-first attitude of our world that is so pervasive. It helps us teach our children and our grandchildren what it looks like to live a different kind of life to the one the world is offering. It's what my mum did, and I watched her do it, and I hope it impacted me. It creates great relationships. People who are serving others are people that others want to get alongside and relate to and be friends with. It ensures that when we are in our moments of greatest need, there are people there for us. So those are the happy byproducts of following Jesus in his model as a servant. So we need to get in the serving game. And I'm looking out and I'm looking at all these people, and I know loads of you are already really doing this brilliantly. So thank you. So I realize I'm preaching to the choir here in some respects. But I do want to say, it may be that God is saying to you, it's a different season, a different kind of serving to do. It may be that God is nudging you and saying, come on, you could do some more stuff here. You could get more involved in this. So what is God asking of you when it comes to your serving? As I said earlier, I've been away this week. I've been in Atlanta in the USA this week at an amazing conference and event with a whole bunch of other church leaders from all around the world, and it's been great. We traveled back on Friday. We had a flight was late in the evening on Friday, so we had some time during the day. So in the middle of Atlanta, in downtown Atlanta, there's the Martin Luther King Memorial, and I've been there a few times. Martin Luther King was born in Atlanta. And you can go to this memorial, you can see the street where he grew up, you can see the house that he was born in. Just down the end of the street, you can see the church, Ebenezer Baptist Church, where Martin Luther King's father was the pastor. You can go into that church, you can sit in a pew, and Martin Luther King went and preached there a few times because his dad was the leader and he kind of brought him back to preach there. You can sit in a pew and listen to a Martin Luther King sermon. It's really powerful. It's an amazing place to go. The museum has these great exhibits about the civil rights movement and all of that kind of stuff. And as I was walking around, there was this quote in big, like it had been painted on the wall, and it was a Martin Luther King quote, and I thought, I'm going to use that in my sermon on Sunday. And it said this is Martin Luther King quote: "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" I thought, that's amazing. Martin Luther King would say, the most urgent and persistent question is, what are you doing for others? That's a great question to ask today, isn't it? When we think about serving, what are you doing for others? And as we talk about being rich in generosity through this series, we're thinking about serving others, serving beyond our church community, serving people in our local community and around the world. And here's a few thoughts I had about ways that you can serve. We partner with this wonderful organization here in Andover called Frontline, who do debt advice and counseling for people who are struggling with their finances. And we have people from our church serve as debt counselors with Frontline. If that's something that you might think you could do or be involved in, that's a great thing to do. And there are some leaflets about how you can do that out in our hub area this morning. And somewhere around you'll find Mary, and Mary's wearing a green t-shirt today because she's on our welcome team today, and Mary serves in that role, and they'd love to have conversation with you about that. You could get involved with our food bank. Again, we partner with other churches in the town to run a food bank for people in food poverty. And I know many of you gave gifts for that, but you can partner as volunteer at Food Bank. We're hoping this autumn and winter to set up a warm hub, so 1 or 2 days a week for our building to be open for people to come and just sit and be warm. You know, when the energy bills are like they are, just people to have a few hours where they don't have to heat their homes might make a huge difference. If you'd like to volunteer in our warm hub, and it will only be able to do it if we get people to help us, then Alex, who was leading our worship this morning, is heading that up and would love to talk to you about that. Our friends at the Methodist Church are starting a town centre chaplaincy. They go out and send chaplains out into the town during the week to meet with people and to chat with people. Again, we can get involved in that. Our children's and families, we do loads of children's and families work as a church, but I'm not talking about that today. I want to talk about volunteering with our kids and youth work that looks out into the community. So our parents and toddlers group that happens on a weekday morning here. Our Friday night kids and youth work that is like a youth club that anybody can come to. If you'd like to be involved with those, that's another great way to serve our local community. If any of those ring a bell with you, and those are just the ones I could think of, you'll probably think about others as well, ways you can serve your community. Then if any of those ring a bell, just get in touch with us through all the usual ways, and we can put you in touch with the right people about that. You'll think about other things. I know you will. You're all clever people. You'll think about other ways to serve, and it may just be a cake or a bunch of flowers to somebody who you know. It could be all sorts of different things. But whatever it is, let's be rich in generosity and be willing to serve, because it changes things. It changes those we're serving. We're motivated because of what Jesus has done for us. And a happy byproduct is it changes us too. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just commit ourselves to you once again today. And we commit ourselves to wanting to serve generously the local community that you've called us to be a part of. Whether that's in a different part of the world, whether it's here in Andover, whether if you're watching on the live stream, it's wherever you are. Lord, prompt us and nudge us and show us how we can serve wherever we find ourselves, whatever stage of life we find ourselves in. We thank you for those who have modeled sacrificial service for us over the years. And above all, we thank you for Jesus, who took on the very nature of a servant and gave himself to us because of his love for us. Pray for anybody who's on the live stream today or in the room today who hasn't yet experienced and encountered that sacrificial love of Jesus. May they find it and encounter it today, I pray. And for those of us who have, help us to follow in his footsteps and serve others. And it's in his name that we pray. Amen. I just want to say, if that is you, if you've been touched or impacted someone and you say, I'm not a follower of Jesus, but I want to be one, please just come and have a chat to Alex or to myself or to somebody that you know afterwards, or send us a message on social media or however you want to do it. Send us a message, because we'd love just to help you with that, and we'd love to know that's what Jesus was doing in your life today. Alex and the band are going to lead us. Why don't we stand together as they do, and stand up if you're at home, and let's sing together as we worship this great God who gave everything for us.
Great the chasm that lay between us, how high the mountain I could not climb. In desperation I turned to heaven and spoke your name into the night. Then through the darkness your loving kindness tore through the shadows of my soul.
Yeah, we just want to give you thanks, loving God, that you are bigger, you are greater, you're stronger than any problem, any challenge or trial that we face. And Lord, maybe when it comes to this idea of serving others, maybe we are carrying wounds today, or we've been hurt and we're just unsure. So we just pray that you will speak to us, Lord, today. You'll give us strength. You will just show us that way you are perhaps calling us out of our comfort zone, to step out of our fear, because you have greater things and you want to bless us. So we just pray your Holy Spirit will just be with us and bring us your peace and your healing. Amen.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the studio for 10 minutes or so of stuff after our service. Really hope you enjoyed being with us online today, and the service that we've just had with all the music and everything that went on with it. Sounded good from where I was sitting.
Oh yeah, well it would do, wouldn't it?
So we should reintroduce ourselves. I'm Chris, you've seen me, I'm the Senior Minister at ABC. Who are
I'm
you?
Jamie, and I help with tech and live stream and all of it, and general help around the house.
We love you, Jamie. You're amazing. So what are we going to do now?
So we're going to do a bit of a 10 minutes or a bit of a debrief. We're going to interrogate Chris on what he's really meant in his sermon, and some next steps that you could take forward into the week and help you to serve.
Cool, great. Don't forget, just before we get into all of that, don't forget, if you haven't yet liked this video, if you could do that, that's an amazing thing. Click the thumbs up sign, because that just means it gets shared a bit further and wider.
Great way to serve.
Yeah, great way to serve. And if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, hit the subscribe button so you'll get notifications of other things that we do. There's lots going on YouTube, so that'd be really cool. So go on then. What questions have you got about the talk?
So Chris, why is it important to serve?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I talked about quite a lot of it, didn't it, in the thing, and I had this thought when I was preparing for today about how serving changes us. But I do think it's important to put a caveat on that because it can become, you can serve out of selfishness. Well, because I want to be better or have people who are there for me or whatever else. So that's not, the motivation comes differently. But actually, it's important because it does change us. And not only does it change the situation that we're serving into, obviously, for the people that we're helping or supporting or serving or showing love to or whatever, but it does change us. And I certainly know it's true in my own life. Oftentimes, I never feel closer to Jesus than when I'm actually doing something for somebody else, when I'm serving somebody else. And there was I didn't mention it because I was running short of time in there today, but I'm trying to desperately to remember. It was, I watched a TED Talk, the 10-minute TED Talk things. And there was somebody, and she was talking about compassion, and she was saying there's actually a chemical, I wish I could remember all the details now, there's a chemical in our brains that gets released when we show compassion and love to others. And actually it's a chemical that actually then makes us feel better about life and about ourselves. And so I thought it's really interesting. We're actually wired to show love and compassion to others, and that actually impacts us. So I think serving is important for lots of different reasons, but a happy byproduct of our serving is that it changes us and transforms us.
They say similar, just as an example, they say when you sing and make music, you get that same sort of chemical reaction. I think it's also about working together as a team to produce a product as well. That's what I sort of get out of serving. You feel like you're part of a team and you're doing or making something and sort of producing it, and you've got this thing at the end of it to look back on and say,
I was part of that.
I was part of it.
Yeah. And it's a great way to serving alongside other people is a great way to build relationships. I often say to people in the life of the church, people say to me, I don't feel like I'm really connected into the life of the church, or I don't feel like I really know anybody. I say, well, get on a team. Because if you're, whatever it is you're doing, if you're doing tech, if you're running the live chat, whatever, being in a team with other people, suddenly you start to get to know a bunch of people. And it's a great way to connect relationally as well.
You might even like them.
You might do.
We love all the people around here. So what do you think Paul's point to the mission and character of Jesus when he's trying to encourage people to think of others?
Yeah, well, he's saying this is the model, right? He's saying, look, in Jesus, you've got this perfect illustration of what a servant looks like. So if you want to know what serving looks like, here you go. And so he points to Jesus, but he's also pointing to Jesus because he is writing a letter to people who are following Jesus. And he's saying, well, look, if you're following Jesus, you know, you need to get in the game
Yeah.
because look what he did. So I think there's a few reasons. I think one, because it was Jesus is a great model of what sacrificial service looks like, but also because, you know, particularly if you are a church person, if you are a Jesus follower, a Christian, then actually there is the model of the person we're trying to follow. And we would say that the goal of if that's the right way to put it, the goal of the Christian life is to become more like Jesus in our character. And so there's no better way to do that than to say, well, what did Jesus do? Well, he served other people, so I'm pretty sure I ought to do that too. So that's what discipleship literally means. It means to follow in the footsteps of Jesus. So if we're going to be disciples of his, then we've got to do it. So I think Paul was talking into all of that, but he was talking, as I said there too, because the people in Philippi were a bit messed up and they were falling out with each other. He was saying, look, here's a unifying factor that will draw to. And we know this because in church life, you know, people are different. People have different views and opinions. You know, our church is incredibly diverse. People from all over the
It'd be
place.
very boring if we all agreed all the time.
Exactly,
wouldn't it?
and sometimes we kind of but having a common purpose unites us, I think.
Yeah.
So so I think that's really important. Why he was so wise to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so wise. Yeah.
In what way can we serve others?
Yeah. Well, I mean, lots of different ways that we've already mentioned. I mean, obviously, we talk a lot about serving in the life of the church, and we've talked about that, and you're a great example of somebody who does that. And for all those reasons, it draws us together, it draws us more into the church community, but also because we can do stuff as a church. But today, I really wanted to get people thinking about serving beyond the church, serving in their local community, because we're talking about being generous to others. And there'll be other days where we'll talk about, come on, get involved in church life, we need you, and that kind of stuff. But we really wanted to focus on, and let's go beyond ourselves and serve others. So all of those ways that we talked about, but I recognise that we've got people on the live stream from different communities all over the world. Yeah. So I think the question to ask is not, should I join in with Frontline or Food Bank or whatever? They're great things. But actually where I am, where I find myself, where God has put me, living where I live, what can I do to serve other people? And to ask that question, there may be a million things. Yeah. Some may be with local partners or organisations or charities or whatever it is. Some might be simply blessing neighbours, doing something to help out a friend or a neighbour or whatever it might be. So I think it's important to be open to that.
I was on the youth holiday, the camp, and it was really interesting to hear what they were saying. And and it's aimed at the young people that we take there, and they're saying how can young people help serve? And they were saying, it's not just serving other people; it's you can serve your family as well, and your parents. And so it's aimed at everyone. And there's something that everyone can do. And it just sprung to mind. As you were saying about it.
No, absolutely. And you were saying to me just before we came back on the chat, you were saying you were using. We're going to talk about it in just a minute. A YouVersion Bible reading plan, or there was a verse of the day.
Yeah.
Or something.
So last week we were talking about it, and it was Rachel's. Talk about it was Rachel last week.
Yes,
about giving.
Yeah.
And it just said each of you should give what you have decided in your own heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And it was the cheerful giver thing last week, and it all just tied in so perfectly. They do put out a verse of the day. Yes. And I just really loved that as well.
Yeah.
It was really interesting.
So what's God asking us to do, and let's do it cheerfully.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was like you were saying as well. Our job is to do what Jesus is asking, not to think about the sort of the repercussions of it as well. And I really thought that was really well said as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this as well because it came to me in the service, I was listening to the service and just a song popped into my head, and it's a bit of an older one, but I loved playing these sort of older songs because I played piano and sort of grew up on them. And it was Servant King, so it was a really old song. It was, the verse came to me was so let us learn how to serve, and in our lives enthrone Him because we're serving Him as well, not just. It was just something that popped into my head. I thought I'd bring it up because I could, and you couldn't say no by this stage.
I think, do you know what I do think everybody out there is thinking now is, please God, don't let Jamie and Chris burst into a duet of "This Is Our God, the Servant King," because I know the song you're talking about absolutely, and you're so right. I'm not going to sing it because that is not going to go well. This is our God, the Servant King. Yeah, but He calls us now to follow Him, doesn't He?
Yeah, but it's just. I love all the songs, old and new, and it's just the variety is brilliant. But that's one of my favourite songs.
Yeah, good, great shout. Thank you for sharing that. It's really cool. Should we talk about some next steps then?
Shall I move the clicker on? Stop talking about old songs.
No, it's cool.
Let's do some next steps.
It's cool. So some next steps that we thought about. We've mentioned YouVersion 4. Great app for your phone, your tablet, your computer, whatever it is, and they have lots of Bible reading plans there to get you reading. They give you a verse of the day, all that sort of stuff. And there is a YouVersion Bible reading plan all about serving there. It's called Next Steps Serving. So it could have been written for us at ABC. It wasn't, but it could have been. And really want to encourage you to have a look at that and maybe follow along with that Bible plan over the next few days. And then obviously the big next step we'd love to for people to take as a result of today is getting involved in serving in some way, shape or form. We've talked about the different ways we can do that in our local community here in Andover, Food Bank, Frontline, Warm Hub, those kind of things, kids and youth stuff. But of course, wherever you are, whatever it might be, then it'd be a great thing for you to get involved in serving others, family, people you work with, whatever it might be, showing Jesus' love that way. So we just want to encourage you into doing that. And just one final reminder, if you want to be part of the giving side of our Be Rich series and campaign, which we're doing over these few weeks. Rachel talked about this last week. You can give to Andover Baptist Church, but if you reference your gift, Be Rich, then it will go specifically to the Be Rich campaign, and all the money that you give to Be Rich will go to Ukraine, to Poland, to a lovely lady called Helen Stainsby, who is a partner of ours, who's doing some great work in the north of Poland, serving in particular at the moment Ukrainian refugees. So if you'd like to do that, use the usual ways of giving. The details are up on the screen. You can find them on our website, but make sure you put in the reference Be Rich, and that will go to there. And we invited people last week to consider giving £20, and some people may be able to give less and some people may be able to give more, but if between us we gave an average of £20, we'd raise thousands of pounds to go and help a really needy cause that we're involved in Poland with Ukrainian refugees. So we'd love for people to do that too.
We can presumably we'll tell everyone how well we're doing sort of in the coming
Yes,
coming
we will
days.
update
Yeah,
people in
it'll
the
be
coming
great.
days. Yes, we'll definitely do
Great to
that.
hear.
So that would be really cool.
Yeah.
So I think that's
I
us.
think that's it. Yeah, that's it. I've survived.
Yeah, you've done brilliantly, James. It's been lovely to have you on
Yes,
here.
we could talk for hours.
You and I know we could go on, and everybody would be going, no, please
And
stop.
Martin's waiting to go home. I've been in that position before.
But thank you so much, everybody,
Yeah.
for being with us, for joining with us today. Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, no
and
problem.
we'll look forward to seeing you next week, we hope, for the last part of the Be Rich series. But for now, have a great day, and we'll see you again really soon.
Bye, everyone.